I'm of that era where This Is Your Life was a big deal, and it was a kind of marker of how well you were doing, really, or how well you'd done if they wanted to do your This Is Your Life. I mean, we always used to laugh that some people they picked hadn't had a life to do, but by 1992, was it, I'd had, quite a life. And I was very excited. I'd always said to my parents, if they ever contact you and want to do it, I'd love to do it. I was then married to my ex-husband Nunzio Peluso, and I'd said to him, please, if they ever come, and he said, no, no, never. I don't want to sit there and see all your ex-lovers come parading on. I said, well, it's not about that, Nunzio. So I was very surprised that I was there at all that day and I don't think he wanted it. And my parents, my mum, bless her, was very up for it and gave them a lot of the information that they used. But as I say, my ex-husband wasn't pleased, as is very apparent during the show, because he never smiles. Michael Aspel, I used to meet him afterwards on other people's and various, and he said, God, he said, we were absolutely terrified of him, and we had letters. I was very inhibited about it because I kept thinking, oh my goodness, if they do have an ex-lover on. But it was it wasn't a tiny part of my life, it was quite a big part of my life at the time. But what was lovely is that other things took over, which was great. The production team would never have known, because the one thing I did for 16 years was absolutely keep quiet about my problems. And I wrote about it in my autobiography, Lost and Found, the fact that there was this extraordinary parallel between me being this mother in the Oxo commercials, Mrs. Happy, and my own life, which was really very unhappy. So no, they didn't know. What slightly miffed me is that he kind of wasted the aeroplane tickets on everybody coming over from Italy, which meant nothing to me. And I had two very good friends at the time, a man called Bryn Lloyd, who sadly now is dead, and another friend called Wally Michaels from Canada. Bryn was in LA and Wally was in Canada, a dancer that I did West Side Story with, who was also great friends of Gareth Hunts and Leo Dolan, who were both on the show, who I would love to have seen, and they would have been happy to have flown over. But the flights were wasted on a whole load of Italians who didn't mean anything to me at all. But obviously my husband thought it was a great way of having them all over to stay. And I have to tell you, I had absolutely no idea. And I was doing the series called Second Thoughts with James Bolam. And of course afterwards, in retrospect, it was interesting because Jimmy will never do This Is Your Life. He's just one of his things, he won't do it. So I was amazed. So I guess that's why it really was out of left field, because the last person I would have expected to do the pickup would have been Jimmy. And we used to record at Thames Teddington from 7:30 till 9:30, 10 o'clock in front of an audience, a studio audience. And we usually finished about 9ish, and then we'd do pickups. I'm sitting on the sofa, that's right, and Jimmy says, I've been, and look what, and I've been to the pub and I'm doing this, this and this. And of course I'm sitting looking out at the audience like this, and he said, I've been to the pub and look who I found. And I thought, oh no, he's gone wrong again. Oh, he'll be really grumpy about this. Oh my goodness. Turn round, and and everything goes through your head. First of all, for a minute you think, why is Michael Aspel standing there? Then you think, oh my goodness, it's somebody's This Is Your Life. Then I thought, well, it must be Jimmy's, but they would have told me, and he's going to say no. Oh, how embarrassing. 2, oh my God, it's me. And that all went through my head. It was absolutely extraordinary. Yes, I think in terms of my pickup, I was emotionally very charged, very up anyway, quite nervous, because always that recording in front of an audience is quite difficult, so your adrenaline is at it anyway. And then at the end of the day, a lot of actors purport to be very cool about fame, about having people like them, about wanting to be popular, and I have to own up and say it means a lot to me to be successful. It also means a lot to me to be liked by the public, and the atmosphere in the room was just phenomenal, and there seemed to be a genuine pleasure about it, and I guess I never see myself as being particularly famous. I want to see myself as being successful at what I do, and I want my peers to recognise me, which they don't always. And so to have that recognition there, that was a fantastic feeling. Well, what you have to know too, which was very different for me, which I could never talk about at the time, but I can now because both my parents are dead, is that I was adopted. And again, I write about this in Lost and Found, and I'd found my mother, my birth mother, Marjorie, actually only a couple of years before, literally 1990, I think. And I was thinking, oh, I wonder how my parents have dealt with that, because we'd chosen as a family to keep it to ourselves. It wasn't common knowledge. It, didn't want the press to find out about it or anything. We got to the theatre, and I was put into this little room on my own. I mean, it is crazy, because it was now 11:30 at night. They were going to record this at 12 o'clock at night, and I thought, well, who's going to come out at 12 o'clock at night to come and see this show? And I was sitting there getting quite emotional and very nervous. And then the producer came and said to me, listen, it's very unusual, but we're going to allow you to talk to your mum because she's got the flu and she can't appear on the show. And so she wants to just say hi. So this is my adopted mum, Ruth Bellingham. So we had a very emotional phone call, a lot of crying, and she said, I'm so sorry I'm not there. What she did say, though, which was absolutely beautiful of her, she said, but at least there'll be no mother figure on the video. So if you want to take it to Canada and show Marjorie, it won't be as though she's been left out, which I thought was a truly wonderfully beautiful thing to say, God bless her. Actually, the actual recording, looking back in retrospect, and knowing me, I was very nervous and very ill at ease. And if you watch it, I'm always looking to Nunzio to see what his reaction is. There was a bit of me as well, as I say, that I would have been mortified if I hadn't recognised everybody, because I consider myself to be a very genuine, down-to-earth person with proper friends, like my friend Jenny who came on. And there was a fantastic cross-section, actually, of people sitting at the side of, apart from the Italians, of people who had been in my life. And that was interesting, because some of those must have come via my ex-husband. But I think the general atmosphere and air was based on my mum and dad, really. It wasn't that there were famous people on there just for the sake of them being famous. Hopefully you could tell that they all meant something to me, and it was lucky that I had enough to make the programme worthwhile. And then to have Litz Pisk. Now what you have to understand, it won't mean anybody watching this, but this is back to something very important about me, that I'd always wanted to be taken seriously as an actress. And because of the Oxo commercials, I've always struggled with my image. And a lot of people in legitimate theatre would never give me the time of day. And I find this very upsetting. To this day, I find it very upsetting. And Litz Pisk was our movement teacher at Central School of Speech and Drama. And she was the most extraordinary woman. She was about 4 foot nothing. She had a humpback, and she was able to create unbelievable movement, and she was just absolutely fascinating. And I craved her approval when I was at drama school and never really got it. When we would do movement classes, she'd say to me, oh, Lynda, darling, you're like a sack of potatoes and they're all falling out, and we must push away this chest here, push it away, and we must stand tall. So for her to come on as my special guest was a huge thing for me. It was like finally, after all those years, I'd got her approval. So that it couldn't have been a better choice, actually. Well, to summarise it, I suppose I'd say it was very genuine, hopefully entertaining, and I was a worthy subject, I thought. In the great scheme of things, I did feel honoured, and I thought I gave a good account of myself. And it's like all these things, you sort of wish you could go and do another one now. It's like tributes, isn't it? You'd sort of hope one day you could have a tribute programme, but that you could control and have the people that you really like and care about and have them on to talk and laugh and show the people the other sides of you that never get seen. But at the end of the day, I think it was entertaining.